I want to say one thing really quick before we say it. Doc Roberts, the fact that he's not in that running, I think is a crime.
That's a great point.
Just think about it. I think that's a crime.
Good catch, dude.
Dave Roberts, the job that he did this year with Betts missing most of the year.
And I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top. Keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life. Hey.
Boom, coming in hot, Chichy. What's going on, brother?
Coming in hot, dude. What do you got? Like you got lip gloss down there. You got a bunch of stuff. What's going on?
Well, bro, you know when at the beginning we got on and you couldn't hear me. I'm like, what the heck? This is so random. I got all the checkpoints on them. I mean, I'm locked in. And then I look down and my speakers turned all the way down. I got those bars that go up and down like on the road mic. Well, then I look around and I got this Mary Kay. I don't even know what it is. Something makeup remover or something. I got lip gloss here. I got like toothbrushes with like makeup bags. And then I started to realize my daughter Jillian is talking to her Snapchat and her friends or whatever they're doing, FaceTiming their friends right here, right in my office. And now I got, my mic's turned down. And what are we doing?
It's like a Sephora on your desk.
Yeah, so now I got to say something to her. Now I got to say, don't touch the microphone stuff, Jilly. I know you're talking to your friends, but I know you're doing your makeup remover stuff here, but let's go.
It's great. I love it. It's so funny. I never had sisters. And so now I have a sister-in-law, a niece, mother-in-law. And like when they're all here now, it's this whole world that I've never lived in my entire life. Like my niece got her ears pierced the other day. It's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, this is crazy.
I know. And the girls are like, oh, this is great. Meanwhile, I'll be like,
Yeah,
don't do that.
Anyway, all right, we got awards finalists. I believe you are going to be at MLB Network doing some of these shows next week.
Yeah, I think I'm doing that Rookie of the Year show. It's announced on Monday. So
I like that. All right. There's a reason probably why you're doing Rookie of the Year, and we'll get to that in a second. I'm assuming they made a smart play putting Pittsburgh's own Sean Casey on there. But let's start. We'll go down the list. Let's go down MVPs, okay? For the NL, the leaders in the clubhouse are Francisco Lindor, Ketel Marte, and Shohei Ohtani. I don't think we have to spend too much time on this one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, I think any other year you'd be like, oh, yeah, Ketel Marte, incredible year, over 30 home runs. Francisco Lindor, what he did from really like May on was, I mean, any other year he probably gets the MVP. Mm-hmm. But then Shohei Ohtani goes, oh, yeah, he's not pitching this year, so they're not going to get as much value. Now he went 50-50, and they won the World Series. So I think that's pretty much a slam dunk, dude.
That's decent.
Ohtani stepped up, and he's going to be the MVP. And that's the tough thing. It's the same way over in the American League, right? I mean, I don't know tell me who the three candidates are, but I obviously
it's Judge, Soto, and Bobby Witt. Now, Bobby Witt made a run at the award late mid-season, so we got to give him credit for being so young and being so in this race. It's Aaron Judge, right? I don't care what anybody's.
I mean, it's definitely Judgy. There's no doubt Aaron Judge is the MVP of the league, but I think Bobby Witt would be 2, right? I mean, I almost feel like Soto's 3.
I agree.
But Bobby Witt won the Gold Glove, played incredible shortstop. The Royals made it to the postseason, which was and won a round. He led the baseball in batting average, 332, I think, something like that. He was 30-30 again. This guy's the absolute stud. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I need to go back. I still can't believe that the Orioles took Adley Rutschman over him in that draft. I know I say that Adley Rutschman's a great player, but he's not Bobby Witt Jr. But let's get to the guy who's going to win it. I mean, Aaron Judge, historic season, absolute historic season. What did he hit, Chinch? 320?
Let me pull it up. Yeah, he hit. They don't have his stats here. He did hit 3. He hit like 320. He was almost in the Triple Crown. It was almost a Triple Crown conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
his OPS 1.159.
Almost a 1,200 OPS. He had 59 homers.
Yeah, 392 total bases. How
many homers did he have? 58 or 59? He had 58.
50, only hit 58 this time.
58 was 144 ribbies though, right?
Yeah, and that's the only stat when he hit 62. That was the only stat that was better when he hit 62 and won the MVP. That's the only number that was better than his numbers this year. So almost every other number he put up was better than his own MVP season.
Right, that's incredible. Everyone's like, that MVP season was amazing. I mean, obviously this is going to be another MVP season, but
Yeah.
to drive in almost a run a game, dude, that's ridiculous. And also too, when he was hot, they were pitching to him tough. You know, it reminded you of Bonds when Bonds was so hot. I mean, teams weren't pitching to him, and if they did, it was really tough. Mm-hmm. And then whenever he got a good pitch to hit, he raked. And that's when, you know, with Judge, when, you know, from that second month on, it was one of the greatest stretches in Major League Baseball history. We're talking about 150 years of some of the greatest players ever, of Ted Williams, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking some of the greatest players, Babe Ruth, some of the greatest players of all time, and Frank Robinson. And we're talking Aaron Judge had one of the most historic seasons of all time in an era where hitting is probably the hardest to do, you know, maybe in the history of the game.
Right. And again, you're getting back to a point where guys can hit for average and power. You know, 5 years ago, the guys that were hitting 40 and 50 were hitting 220.
Right.
He's a 300 hitter hitting 50 something. So.
Right. I think the biggest thing with Judgy too, he's getting some of those home runs to right field because he's a great hitter and he's trying to go to right center with his approach. He's trying to hit line drives over that second baseman's head. But when you're Aaron Judge, when you hit line drives over the second baseman's head with a little elevation, they go out.
Yeah, there you go. All right, let's get to the bump here. AL Cy Young. You got I get so upset this time of year because like Clase, everybody's down on him right now because how the playoffs went. But what he did was more than Mariano-esque in a regular season. 47 saves, .61 ERA. He's up against Seth Lugo, who, by the way, what a pickup by the Royals, and Skubal, who I think is probably, I don't know, I think Class A.
Skubal's going to win it.
Is he?
Skubal's going to win it, dude. He was a starter. I mean, he's a huge reason the Tigers made that run. I mean, he led they almost got the Triple Crown, didn't he?
Wins, ERA.
Yes,
and
strikeouts.
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah, so he got the Triple Crown. Skubal's going to win it. Now, Class A would have a .6 something ERA. I mean, the guy was absolutely lights out. Mm-hmm. You know, with .61 ERA, 47 saves. It reminds you of like an Eric Gagne back in the day when he won the Cy Young, I believe, for the Dodgers. Like, oh, a closer won it. Yeah, like that's how worthy Class A was. But I do think Tarek Skubal had an elite year. If any other starter had it's a pretty good year, right, Class A wins it. But it's like Judge and Bobby Witt. I mean, Judge had a historic season. Bobby Witt had an incredible season. He comes in second, you know, and so same thing. Tarek Skubal has a Triple Crown winning season. Class A has one of the greatest reliever seasons we've ever seen, and he's in second, you know. Yeah. But you're right, dude. Seth Lugo, what a sign that was for the Royals. You know, him, Michael Walk into that rotation. I mean, he was absolutely incredible. So that's another nice race, but I think Skubal comes out on top there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to bundle here the NL Cy Young Award with the NL Rookie of the Year Award because there's one guy who is in both, and it's Paul Skenes. So before we even get into the awards portion of who we think he's up against and who he will win, just one more time, talk to people what this dude meant for Pittsburgh this year.
Well, dude, not only Pittsburgh, I think Paul Skenes kind of became a household name in baseball. I mean, just because I think he's got generational stuff. I really do, man. This guy has lights out, Nolan Ryan type fastball with that splinker that he throws, that split finger two-seamer that sinks is incredible. He has a good curveball, wipe you out with a slider, good changeup. He's got a 5-pitch mix, and he can pitch, and he can blow you away. He can beat you in so many ways. I mean, I think the biggest thing is when you watch great pitching in the big leagues, the one thing you want to watch is the hitters, how they swing. The hitters' swings tells you everything. There were so many awkward swings against Paul Skenes this year that I'm like, wow, that must look so nasty the way he throws it. And like I said, I love the fact that he had that scripture reading in 2 Timothy 1:7 on his glove that says, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but one of love, power, and self-discipline. When I look at Paul Skenes, I see power, I see discipline, I see love for a passion for what he does and who he is as a man. Like I see an Air Force mentality out there when he was at the Air Force Academy for 2 years. Like I see a different breed of a human being on that mound with his faith and his force and what he brings. So, I don't think he wins the Cy Young this year, Chinch. He's so close. Had he had 10 more starts, had the Pirates called him up at the beginning, I think we're talking about a Cy Young for Paul Skenes.
Yeah.
But the fact that he didn't have those starts, I think it's probably going to go to Chris Sale.
Yes.
Paul Skenes is going to win the Rookie of the Year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But Chris Sale is going to end up winning the Cy Young with the year that he had. And good for Chris Sale for coming back from all the injuries that he's had and really, making a statement there in Atlanta when they really needed him with Spencer Strider getting hurt. They needed Sale to have this kind of year.
Well, they didn't have their offensive guy. Without Chris Sale, the Braves were not going anywhere this year. He almost willed them into the run that they had because they don't forget they didn't have the MVP from the year before on their team. So his numbers ridiculous. Age 35 season, and you got to give him credit, man. The guy's been hurt a lot, and it almost looked like weren't a couple years ago you're like, he had a good career, but lanky body, and now he is going to win the NL Cy Young and handily, I think. So,
dude, I think a couple of years ago we thought Chris Sale's career was over, and now he's like, no, I'm still here, still dominating, and thank God he's still pitching because Sean Manaea could be in this conversation next year, all because of dropping down to that angle that Chris Sale was living at. The other guy, Zach Wheeler, too, had one of probably his finest season yet, but it's not good enough because, of what Sale did. But, he 2.57 ERA, led the NL with a .96 whip, got to the 200 inning mark for the second time, which I think is incredible because at the end of the day, you're not seeing that as much anymore either. That durability of 200 innings is becoming an outlier because guys aren't seeing these rotations 3 times around. If you're staying in the game and getting 200 innings, Chinch, that means you got elite stuff. That means you have a mix that you can hit these guys on different ways like a Roy Halladay used to. I remember facing Roy Halladay, dude. First at bat, he'd throw me sinker, changeup. I'm like, wow, that was nasty. Then next at bat, he'd throw cutter, slider. I'm like, wow. Then next at bat, he'd go 4-seamer, top rail, wipe you out with a curveball. Yeah. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this guy navigates this lineup because he has above average pitches in everything he does. That's when I look at Wheeler, I go, that split finger's above average. The slider's above average. The fastball top rail, the 2-seam fastball at 97, 98 miles an hour. And this guy is elite. That's how you get to 200 innings. So you got to look at Zach Wheeler's body of work and go, if you're with the Phillies, you're glad you signed this guy long-term because he's a workhorse, man. He's a workhorse because he has great pitches. He's learned to pitch in this league as he goes on. And it was an incredible year for him, too.
Yeah. How about at one point the Mets had Wheeler and Lugo in a rotation?
Yeah, whoopsies.
Netty.
Miss.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Okay, let's get back to that NL Rookie of the Year. We mentioned Skenes. Jackson Merrill had a year, dude. 292 batting average, 90 ribbies, 162 hits, 24 home runs. It's really, are you going to vote for the pitcher or you're going to vote for the hitter? Jackson Chourio had a great year. I don't think I think it's a 2-horse race. No offense to Chourio, but it's hit. Does a hitter get it over a pitcher the same way a starting pitcher gets it over a reliever?
Well, I think at one point we were talking, obviously, on our show, probably in August when Merrill was like, I felt like he was carrying the Padres. I mean, had 5 game-winning or game-tying home runs in the month. I mean, this guy was coming up with big hit after big hit. I mean, I was like, he was driving the Padres to the postseason, the rookie guy, playing center field when he's really a shortstop, playing a Gold Glove center field. And they got 3 center fielders out there in the outfield for the Padres. And, it's pretty incredible to watch. Jackson Merrill probably being the best athlete. But when you look back at this season, I think there was a time there that we're like, oh, Jackson Merrill, because he plays every day and he's doing what he's doing. But then Skenes just kind of kept dominating. I think the greatest thing with the Pirates is they didn't shut Skenes down. I think that'd been the worst thing to do is like, oh, let's baby Paul Skenes and, shut him down in September. The fact that Skenes pitched all the way till the end of September got him the Rookie of the Year. Had he been shut down a couple starts early, I think it goes to Jackson Merrill. But the fact that Skenes put up a historic year under a 2 ERA, started the All-Star game. I mean, this guy, you don't just start the All-Star game if you're not dominant of a starter. And I just think Skenes put up a historic season where we're like, okay, he wins it. But probably this is kind of funny. In every category, we're saying guys are having historic years, and the guys that are coming in second, any other time, they're winning.
They win. You're so right. In almost every category.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. All right, Manager of the Year award, NL. If this was Great Guy award, these three guys would tie. It's Carlos Mendoza, Pat Murphy, and Schilt from the Padres.
Yeah.
This is a tough. I mean, I think any one of these guys can win, and you're happy with them. I have a rooting interest personally, but
yeah.
What do you think?
All great guys, man, and they're all veteran guys. That's what I love. Like I think people are starting to understand the baseball guys in the game that have been around the game are very important. I mean, Schilt's a lifer, did well in St. Louis, and they got rid of him. I don't know if that was the best thing they did back in the day. And I heard they got rid of him because he was like a little more old school. Like the analytics, he was like, nah, we're going to keep those out a little bit. They're going to come in, but only to a certain extent. And I don't think John Mozeliak in St. Louis liked that. And then they, got rid of him. And I think they've kind of scuffled since then. But then, Pat Murphy. I mean, Murph we had on the show. What a great guy. You talk about a lifer, a gamer. This guy is one of the best managers in the game and did an incredible job, with the Brewers. And the fact that, Counsell was gone. They lost Yelich for a lot of the year, only had him really for half the season. They traded Corbin Burns at the beginning. They lost Devin Williams. So they lost their number one starter, their MVP player, and they lost the number one closer in the game, Devin Williams, for most of the season. So for Murph to do the job that he did, I mean, he might end up getting it. But Carlos Mendoza, for me, the job that he did, especially for the start that the Mets got off to, they traded a lot of guys away in the offseason. They didn't know what that rotation was going to look like with Peterson, Manaea, Severino coming off a terrible year in New York with the Yankees. Just piecing together that bullpen, and then Lindor comes out the gates hitting like $120 in April. You're like, oh man, I mean, Mendoza might be fired. I remember they were like, oh, maybe he's not the right guy. I'm like, no, these guys aren't playing well. Next thing you know, man, Iglesias comes up. I really do believe that Carlos Mendoza being bilingual and having that connection to the Latino players and the American players, I just think, and being with the Yankees and all the things he's experienced, being a manager in the minor leagues, I just think if you watch those games, I know you watched a lot of them too because of Jess, he made a lot of moves during this season that were like, man, I feel like Mendoza won that game, or I feel like Mendoza, made that move in the bullpen, or made that move with starting this guy in this game against this guy. It just seemed to feel like in the last few months, every button he was pulling was working. So
yeah,
I love all these guys. I think they're great managers, and I think Carlos Mendoza for me becomes getting all the way to the NLCS, taking the Dodgers to Game 6, giving them the toughest run of their run, especially except maybe with the Padres. Yeah. I think Mendoza wins it.
Yeah, you could,
and they beat the Brewers. I mean, I thought that might edge them.
No, good point. Good point. Mets were 11 under 500 on June 2nd. They finished the season 65-38. Wow. They were 28-16 in one-run games. Had 41 comebacks. Anyway,
incredible.
AL. This is a fun one too. I think I got a guy. I would pick AJ Hinch, Matt Cattaro, Stephen Vogt.
Wow. I want to say one thing really quick before we say it. Doc Roberts, the fact that he's not in that running, I think is a crime.
That's a great point.
I just think about it. I think that's a crime.
Good catch, dude.
Dave Roberts, the job that he did this year with Betts missing most of the year.
Holy cow.
Muncy missed a ton of the year. That whole rotation was on the DL, dude. They didn't have Kershaw. Glasnow went down late.
Great.
Stone went down. Bobby Miller went down. Like, are you kidding me? Gratterall was gone for a lot of the year. Like, Dave Roberts, if we're being honest, they won the whole thing. I know they're the Dodgers, and maybe that's why they overlooked it. That might be the best managerial job that he's done in his career was this season.
Great catch, dude. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And I know the playoffs don't count in these awards, or they're not supposed to, but like he beat the best. They beat all of the best teams.
Right.
All of them. They had the hardest. You could argue they had the hardest run through the postseason. They beat you could argue the Mets were better than most of the AL teams. And the same thing with the Padres. Crazy. Anyway.
Dude, I agree. And also, too, Chinch, I think managers nowadays have such a bigger role. when you used to be an AL manager, you put up the lineup and go get them because there's no double switch. There's the DH. Now the DH is in the National League too. So you're like, oh, you know what? What's there to manage? That's what you used to say. What's there to manage? Now the bullpens are such a big deal.
Right.
They're coming in so early. These starters are going 5 innings now, if that. These bullpens are, dude. Now you're judged in this job by how you handle the bullpens, how you handle the matchups, and all that stuff. And you look at Dave Roberts, dude. The way he handled the bullpen in that Padres series.
Yeah.
The matchups that he had with Vesia and Trinan and all these guys, dude, he won. I mean, those matchups going 20-plus innings, scoreless innings against the Padres, that won that series. They don't win the World Series without Dave Roberts saying, you're in, you're done, you're gassed, here we go. So, like,
great point.
They won the championship, Chinch, and they beat the Padres. They beat the Mets. They beat the toughest teams. They beat the Yankees, and they beat them a lot because of Dave Roberts. So,
great point.
I really think I think the voters missed this one. To me, those other guys I love, but to me, Dave Roberts is manager of the year.
I love that. That's a great point. By the way, AL manager of the year, you mentioned bullpens. That's why AJ Hinch is on this list. You also got McIntyre and Stephen Vogt. The more I'm thinking, when we first started this conversation, I was like, I think it's Vogt, no question. But then I'm looking at AJ Hinch again, and I'm like, oh, he didn't really have the greatest team in the world, and he did it with his bullpen.
Well, you're right, man. AJ Hinch did an incredible job with the Tigers, just locking in. I mean, they used the bullpen more than any team in baseball. So he did an incredible job. Stephen Vogt, dude, first year there, basically wire to wire, they were one of the best teams in baseball. I mean, that was incredible too.
And the Royals weren't supposed to be there, really.
Dude, Matty Quatraro, you kidding me? They were one of the worst teams in baseball last year. They had the biggest swing, I believe. And listen, Matty Q's one of the smartest guys in the game. He's always been one of those guys. He was with Tampa for a long time, Cleveland, and then Tampa. He's always been, Matt Quatraro just missed. He just missed this. Dude, he is such a great baseball mind. Like I said, I played with Matty Q back to college when he was in Old Dominion, and if you haven't checked out that episode, maybe we could put that up here soon.
That's a good one. That's a great
because that was a great episode. Just talking about his philosophy, and I think the great thing about Matt Quatraro is he's such an even keeled guy, and I think players love that. He's not too high, not too low. Let's keep going. So he did an incredible job. All three of those guys are worthy.
Yeah.
I really believe that. And who was it again? Stephen Vogt, Matty Q. Who am I forgetting?
Tigers. AJ.
Oh yeah, AJ Hinch. I mean, honestly, think AJ Hinch might have pulled this one off because.
Yeah, I don't think he had
you looked at the Tigers and you go young lineup, don't have any starters. Seriously,
dead and buried,
dude.
Towards the end of the year,
way buried, and they came back and did what they did. I probably got to go with Hinch.
Oh, good one. All right. Mañana, we're going to go to the North Pole, and we're going to pick a destination for the polar bear. How's that?
Ooh. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, no, not tomorrow. We're not going to do that because tomorrow we got Michael DeSanti coming on.
Oh, that's right.
Tomorrow we got our first Breakthrough Pro session.
Yes.
Michael DeSanti coming on.
The sessions.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great session. First Breakthrough Pro session tomorrow. It's going to be incredible. He's a guy that's my life coach, mentor to me. He's such an incredible guy in my life.
Married you.
Anything he says is gold, and what he's going to talk about tomorrow is going to be great.
Excellent. I love it.
It's going to be awesome.
That is going to be awesome. So the polar bear will be on hold because we're going to...
Yeah, we'll talk about the polar bear a lot. We need topics, so we'll have to talk about him soon.
All right. Perfect.
Okay, man.
Love you, buddy.
Okay, brother. Love you. Have a great day. Everyone out there, we really appreciate you listening. Hope you dial it in and keep subscribing and downloading. We need it to happen. So thank you, everybody. See you soon. See you, buddy.